All right, you are now tuned into another episode of the 3% Show, where I say people will tell you 97% of the truth, and that's admirable and that's nice if it's real. But I believe that 3% untold holds power in your life, no matter if it's good, bad, or what drives you every day. Today's episode, it's kind of a chill episode. It's with a young lady that I've been knowing for a long time, well, about 2 years, I think.
Yeah, more
Yeah,
or
we've
less.
been cracking jokes and trying to get her to sing forever. But the reason why this young lady is on the show is, again, I've been talking about my therapy that I'm learning to do, and not saying it's for everybody. Some people need a motivational coach or, anything like that. But for me, I believe being transparent about things is what benefits me and it invites a conversation. And I know this young lady has been covered, anointed, delivered, covered again, delivered. But I'm the lot. I'm the lot on the feed. Okay, I'm lot. They had to come get me 3 times. Abraham, everybody. But
Mm.
I want you to meet Casey Coleman. She is a beautiful person, a beautiful soul, and keeps it very real, like old school. Keep it real. So, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. Let me just say I'm not a saint. I'm far from the saint. Do trust me. I'm very much flawed, but I'm still worthy. So are you.
Absolutely, and so many people need to understand that and feel that. Before we get started, I would like to say prayers to just the mothers and fathers that lost kids,
Yes.
in Texas and Buffalo and just period.
Yeah.
This nation is it's at an interesting the United States is very interesting right now, no matter what your political views are or just everyday life. And the reason why I'm saying that is because this show we were going to talk about not necessarily digging deep with numbers and facts and more, but just talk about childhood trauma that starts from a kid. It manifests itself into your adulthood, whether you pay attention to it, whether you realize it or you don't. Or in some cases, it's been proven that people actually just forget. So this young lady, she is an excellent young lady. She has um, been very transparent over the time of me watching her. She has never wavered. So Casey, and the name is Casey because I
It
used to say
is.
it wrong, and she would correct me in the dark. From the all you will see is the eyeball. Somebody, it's Casey. You from Kansas City, right? But give us a little bit of background about yourself and what made you
Um,
kind of want to come on the show. I mean, or what you know gave you the strength to decide to say, hey, I have something to say.
well, so I found myself in these in my adulthood. Let me clear that up.
Mhm.
I found myself in these repeated cyclical relationships. It would be
Mm.
like a different person, but it would be the same type of thing. And
Right.
I'm like, eventually you just get tired of it. And it's like, okay, I know I'm not the problem, but there is a problem.
Hmm.
And I need to do some soul searching and some digging to find out why I'm choosing this type of person or allowing this type of person to be in my world, to be
Hmm.
in my life. And it go nowhere. And it's like that with multiple people. And so I just kind of just started kind of reflecting, and I prayed and I asked God to like just show me and
Right.
whatever toxicity I may have about myself, you know, trace it to where it began. And
Hmm.
so I just all like different things from my childhood started resurfacing. So I did some research. I came across a Instagram page specifically about relationships,
Okay.
and it kind of goes back and it talks about you know where our in our adult relationships, it kind of goes back to your childhood, and
Right.
then not everybody has the same type of manifestation in their adult relationships, but that's
Hmm.
where it starts. um, and it's suppressed, not intentionally, but you just don't think about how excuse me, how much emotional damage was done when you were younger until you're an adult.
Absolutely.
And self-awareness is key. And if you become self-aware enough, then you know, hey, let me find out if I'm the problem or if I have a problem, and let me fix it, because ultimately everybody deserves to have a happy, healthy, fulfilling relationship with another person,
True,
whether it be
true.
romantic or platonic.
That part. And it's
Yeah.
interesting you say that, because sometimes I feel that instead of learning how to have platonic relationships with people, you get off on the wrong foot by thinking that everything you have to do is romantically inclined,
That's
right?
right.
So
Mhm.
when it doesn't work romantically and you see the person for who they are and thinking, hey, we were better off as friends,
Mhm.
you've now kind of crossed the line that you have to build from
Yeah.
and keep it that way.
Mhm.
And either you have the right to explain that as you go along, to say, oh, this is my friend, versus somebody just having a clean niche and saying, hey, we've been cool since XYZ. So
Yeah.
I totally can understand that. I've been in that situation a lot of times, unintentionally.
Mhm.
But one thing that you said that rings a lot of bells to me is you have to have a desire
Mhm.
to search yourself, and accountability, no matter how big or small, but it has to be your character, or you have to have a desire to want to make a change.
Mhm.
And that's one thing I love about what you said, because I've always had the desire to kind of know me,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. But I
Yeah.
was always scared to find out who I really was.
Yeah.
Hence, one of my biggest fears in life is success, because
Mhm.
I'm scared to find out if I'm successful, what kind of person would I be? Would I be an asshole?
Mm.
Would I be a cool person? I mean, you just never know until you're put in that position. Um, going back to childhood, give us a little bit about your childhood that possibly has led you to the point of you saying, hey, in my adult years, oh, this is okay, maybe this is why I thought of this, or maybe this is where I'm reacting. If you can elaborate on that, and I'll be elaborating myself.
Sure, sure. All right. So I am biracial. Uh, dad is black, mother is white. That's neither here nor there. Just thought I'd throw that in.
Okay.
Just in case anybody was curious. No, but I grew up in a small town in Fremont, Nebraska. That's where I was born, out of all places. And we moved here when I was about 3 to
Hmm.
Texas. Stayed in Spring for a little while, and then we moved to the South Side, and we just been South Siding it since I was young. And so my dad and I were very close.
Hmm.
I'm a daddy's girl. Daddy been gone since 2005, but I'm
Okay.
just a daddy's girl. That's just who I am. Even though he's done a lot of wrong, I see no wrong.
Right.
Even though
Right.
I know he's done wrong by my mom and
Hmm.
by me and by my sister and by my brother. Um, Lord rest his soul. This is not a finger pointing, shifting blame. I'm not blaming my dad. It's just what it is.
Hmm.
Right. So
Understandable.
growing up, he took me everywhere. I knew that my dad loved me. There wasn't even a question. Um, your dad is supposed to be like your first love for a woman, for a female,
Hmm.
and he's supposed to set the tone of the relationships for your adult relationships with men.
Right.
Right?
Almost like an etiquette course through life.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Well, sadly, I didn't get that.
Okay.
I didn't get the I didn't get the affirmations, right? I didn't
Okay.
get, oh, you're beautiful, you can do this, you're smart. I didn't get that. I got, if you don't get that weight off, you're not gonna have a good job. If you don't get that weight off, you're not gonna have a man. Nobody's gonna want you. That kind of
Right.
stuff.
Okay.
Well, I didn't really hold on to that, but it did kind of,
It stuck a little bit.
it did,
Yeah.
it did in the back of my mind,
Hmm.
right? Then fast forward as I was getting older, um, cheated on my mom multiple times. Um, Unfortunately, developed a drug addiction. He was a truck driver, so he was in and out of town all the time.
Right.
Even though he called every day, multiple times a day. When I was in my adulthood working, he would call my job. I had, a direct line in my office. share the office. So he would call every day to talk to my coworkers. There was never a person that my dad met that did not like him.
Right.
He had a nickname for everybody. He had a joke for everything. Daddy was just like a very jovial person.
Mhm.
But I know that he was emotionally unavailable
Mm.
because he was dealing with his own demons, his drug addiction. He didn't
Right.
meet his dad until he was 18.
Okay.
They didn't have like the strongest, father-son relationship. I was closer to my dad than my brother. I have a brother that, we share the same father, not the same mother.
Okay.
So my brother did not get to see the full capacity of my dad as he should have.
Right.
I don't think I got the full capacity of my dad like I should have.
Hmm.
I even though I was 29 when he passed away, I still felt cheated,
Right. Right.
right? Because of those lost years, because of his addiction and the cheating
Right. And that's
and
okay.
him just not being there for me. Well,
Hmm.
then of course, then my mom sticks around through all this. So I'm seeing this dynamic of marriage, which, of course, now I know it's not healthy.
Hmm.
Back then, I'm 12 years old when they get a divorce. So I'm not thinking this is unhealthy,
Right. Right.
Um,
You just know that
so
they had a divorce, and
yeah,
you got one here and one there now.
yeah. And so, I would get the false promises. Hey, I'm sending money, would never see it. Hey, I'm in town, I'm coming to visit, would never see him. I could kind of tell, growing up as I matured and learned about, drug addiction. And I could kind of tell when he was out doing his thing
Right.
because I wouldn't hear from him for days.
Right.
Normally he would call every day,
Hmm.
but he was open and honest about what was going on, right? Flip flopping to my mom, she was dealing with her own emotions with my dad doing what he was doing. So I really don't think I got the full capacity of my mom, even though she raised my sister and I. Because she had her emotions about what was going on with my dad and their marriage and how she stayed. She loved him. She hoped things would work out. They
Right.
didn't. So, it's just they were physically there, but not totally emotionally there.
Absolutely.
Right. And so
Hmm.
you grow up, here I am in these relationships, you know, these cyclical, especially as I've gotten older. I would probably say mm, as early, or I'll say as late, or as early as 2012, 2013, after I had ended a 10-year relationship, which was toxic. So I served married people's time. I just wasn't married. Um, but I ended that
Oh.
relationship and found myself in these situationships with the
Hmm.
same type of person. They were emotionally unavailable, but I stayed because I was looking for something that I did not get when I was a
Hmm.
child.
Hmm.
And so I found this information about suppressed childhood trauma, what it looks like, how to heal from it. And it's been very helpful. I'm still in the healing, you know, thing. I've cut off some folks from my life.
Right.
I felt bad. I felt really sad because I'm like, hey, how do you go from talking to someone every single day to being total strangers? And like that's painful because you develop these attachments.
Correct.
I've also learned there's different types of attachments, different type of attachment styles. There's anxious attachment. There's avoidant dismissive attachment. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And it's like, it
Hmm.
just makes sense. And it's like, it almost hits you in the face. It's like, well, damn, that explains that. Now what
Absolutely.
do I do? And so
Absolutely.
you have to do the research. It's out there at our fingertips if you want to know what the problem is, if you want to learn how to fix the issue that you feel that you're having. It's
Hmm.
out there. There's therapists, there's counselors. I wouldn't necessarily say the internet, but it does have some. I would definitely talk to a licensed person, a
Right.
professional person who specifically went to school for what you're dealing with.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I can agree with you on a lot of things growing up. One of my biggest things I feel like um, has really hindered me without me knowing it is seeing some of the relationships that my mother had. Not necessarily saying that everything was bad, but being in a situation early in childhood, like I always say, my father lived across the street from me, and my mother had, he had his family. Me and my mom were here. And one of the biggest things that I've discovered was I felt like I lost my voice,
Mm,
because in those situations when something's not right, when you speak upon it to a parent, you know, it's a 50-50 chance they're going to listen or they're going to believe
mhm.
the person that they're with,
Yeah.
so I went through being abused as far as my stomach was always sick and I never realized it. And it may be a part of it, but I just didn't like being at home with a certain gentleman.
Mm,
But it's not my mother's fault because as a kid, I didn't want to upset her. I
mm,
didn't want to let her know about what was going on as far as being tied to a doorknob and whooped, as far as some
mm,
sickening things that just happened within
mm,
the second to the third, well, first, second, and third grade almost.
mm,
And then once that person's removed and you see the way he treats this beautiful person, as my mom has always been like
mhm,
my hero. She was
mhm.
always, we went from the project. She worked in a law firm. She rode 45 minutes on a 10 speed. She cleaned houses until she kept elevating. So to me, I'm like, this is everything, right?
Mhm.
And looking at my sister explore life and go through life, because she inspired me too. She's always been a grinder. But for me, feeling and seeing certain situations of abuse and not being able to do something, I believe that's what happened to me to make me want to be a fixer, that made me want to stay in situations
Yeah.
longer, because you feel like, well, I need to give it more time to see what you're really looking for.
Yeah.
And that time overlaps over the course of time and
Yes.
time. So it was a pattern that I discovered that I had from childhood, and wanting
Mhm.
to be a protector instead of just saying, hey, it is what it is. So I definitely can understand, what you're saying as far as childhood development into finding your dating realm, or even the way that you act, but more assessingly with the people that you date.
Yeah.
Because I had a type that I didn't realize was a type, and I didn't think it was that old cliche, hurt people attract hurt people.
Yeah.
But it's just like when you want more and you see more out of somebody, at what point do you exit?
Yeah.
So I can agree with that. This book that you were telling me about, it sounds like it has a few layers. Can you elaborate on that book that you saw and you were like, hey?
Well, it's not a book. It's a Instagram page.
Oh,
So
so the page is dropping jewels.
yes,
Oh,
yes. Let
oh.
me bear with me just a moment. Um, let me get to it and I will give you her information. Let's
Hmm.
see. Okay, come on. Mm, mm,
That's real interesting. It's crazy to think about. Um,
mhm,
I think that's why I've always been like an attentive person to my friends and
mhm,
families, because I know that being emotional disconnected is never healthy. And I can
mhm,
get that way myself. I know me.
mhm, mhm.
So,
All right. So her name is Erica. She's a relationship and dating coach, and her page is your. Hold on, I just had it. It's your dot relationship dot reset.
mm.
And I don't know how I came across her page. Probably one of those rabbit hole things, look
That
at
must have
one
been before
thing.
TikTok exploded.
Yeah, no, no, this was actually recent. This was some a few months ago, actually. Um,
Founder.
but yeah, yeah, she goes in. She goes hard in on. She talks about trauma bonds. She talks about childhood trauma. She talks about codependency.
Hmm.
She talks about avoidant attachment. 8 reasons you're drawn to emotional emotionally unavailable partners. I mean, she goes into detail. Like I would recommend for anybody to go to her page.
Mhm.
Now it can be kind of like WebMD, and you looking at stuff and you like, is that me? Do I have that? So just
Doing a
be
heat
ready.
check on yourself.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, like I said, in all things, self-awareness is key. It is,
Mhm.
it is just, and me being in school, I'm also a theology student. I am getting my degree in biblical counseling. So, um, yeah.
That was
So,
gonna be my segue. Go ahead.
oh, sorry.
Read. No, go ahead. Read.
Sorry. So yeah, so you have to, before I can effectively counsel anyone, I have to get myself right.
Yeah, and I
Because
appreciate you for that too.
yeah, you have to be neutral and objective, because if you're counseling from your own emotion, that's not going to work. So
Absolutely.
you have to study, uh
Study yourself
and
approve.
that's it. But you have to study, so how to objectively and neutrally counsel,
Mhm.
from a place of not in your mind or in your
Mhm.
emotions. Um, yeah. So sorry
So
if I
leading to
spoiled
the
the.
no, 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 you're okay because we're just gonna drift around. I mean, like I said, this show isn't necessarily for me. It's for, somebody that might be like, you're already dropping jewels and the IG because I'm following now.
Mhm,
That was something I meant to say. Growing up, and I'm sure a lot of people may or may not that watch the show, if they tune in, have grew up in the church. And I've always felt like, church was one place that you can find what a relationship should look like,
yeah.
and I think sometimes people kind of struggled with that from being younger as you get exposed to not only life, but the things that happen in the church. Not bashing any churches, but I just commend, the marriage and family therapists that are truly helping from a biblical point of view now with
Mhm,
the upgraded information and accountability. My sister, Tanya, she has a great therapist that went through a relationship coach with them. I met her at her wedding. For me, it was one of the biggest, I'm not going to say let down, but it was very questioning the way I saw older people move. Even as a kid, I always felt like I
mhm.
had a power of discernment. God has always allowed me to be like, hey, this is cool. This isn't this person. But it was so interesting because I actually resented my grandfather at times because, and this is just from, I'm not going to say resented him, but I didn't approve of or any older person stepping out on a woman
Mhm,
when you had two separate families. It didn't make sense
mhm.
to me. And for
Yeah.
me, I think that's what happens to young ladies in 1980 lies. That's what I call it. Because you have these people saying, well, stay in this marriage or stay in this relationship because he makes good money. But
Yeah.
yet the person telling you that, you see them heartbroken, or you see that woman heartbroken time and time again because the uncle's cheating or the grandfather's cheating, or
Yeah.
somebody close to them is cheating, but they're telling you to stick in there, it gets better. Um, how do you think that affects young ladies, or not saying you in particular, but have you noticed that kind of thing when you were younger? And what do you think is kind of changing? Because I love that women are speaking out for themselves more. Now, some of them just don't take no stuff, and that's, I worry about that too. But um, what would you say to younger people that may be dealing with something like that, that will be coming to counseling from the church or just from, therapists and more? What are some good keys that they possibly can relate to, or where would they start looking for answers?
Uh, well, definitely get familiar with the Bible. That's the
Okay.
first thing. Um, because you want to make sure that your counseling is scripturally sound.
Okay.
Because if you're not familiar with the Bible yourself, that's where that study, what you
Study
just
yourself
said,
approved.
study yourself approved. If you don't do that, then you're going to be lost. You're going to just take what they say at face value.
Mhm.
So definitely learn the word for yourself.
Mhm.
Um, you want to find someone who is um, practicing what they preach. Uh, you want to. Um, I have a spiritual mother. I have someone who I consider a spiritual mother. A lot of things that have happened in her life that are happening in my life are parallel. She
Mm.
didn't have uh she didn't have one of her like I have one of her growing up.
Right.
So she's been a big help um in advisement on some things in my life. Um, she definitely points me to the word. You want someone who is going to direct you to back to the word because
Mhm.
that's the foundation. That's where it comes from.
Okay. Okay. And that makes sense because you got to understand and know it. And that's why I said stopped using, I didn't want to use the word resentment because, as we know, back in those days, they didn't have somebody to talk to. Communication sometimes was not even on the table, true feelings of what adults go through and that
Mhm,
hardship. So that's why I kind of pull back my layers when I say things versus in today's time, everybody's able to communicate. There's a name for anything that you got. So
mhm,
emotional, therapeutic, anxiety, so many things. Um, so stemming from where you started, you were dating the same kind of person. What kind
mhm.
of changes have you made since then that you identified with and said, hey, maybe it's not for me? Let me go ahead and pull back myself to save myself.
Mhm. Um, the key is to learning your value, learning your
Mm,
worth.
yeah.
Even though I have friends telling me, "Casey, you deserve more." For whatever reason, I had it in my mind that I didn't. I don't know why.
Guilty.
Don't know why. Because I do know that I'm a beautiful person in and out. I do know that I'm anointed. I do know that I'm blessed. I do know that I'm talented. I
Hmm.
do know that I'm a good woman, whatever that looks like, to whomever it needs to look like.
Hmm.
You know, I know these things about myself, but I think it kind of goes back to where that, hey, if you don't work on your weight, you're not going to have this. If you don't get that off, you're not going to have that. So it's kind
Hmm.
of like you just settle because of that thing, you know?
Right.
And I had to realize that's not true. I know what my father says about me.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Not my
Absolutely.
earthly father, but my heavenly father. So I
Hmm.
had to kind of like read more into that, you know?
Hmm.
Um, I had to absorb that more versus those old words from my childhood because those don't
Right.
even matter anymore. I'm 45. Why should why should those words matter now? That was how many ever years ago. So
Absolutely.
that's not true.
Absolutely.
Um, love myself, embrace myself because
Hmm.
I am evolving, I am changing. That's forever. We change every day. There's something new every day.
Absolutely.
Um, weight loss,
I
weight
was
loss
gonna get it.
journey.
We're gonna touch on that a little
Oh,
bit later,
sorry.
but no, no, no. Keep going, keep going. But I'm just proud of you. I'm
Oh,
I'm for
thank
real.
you.
We're gonna get on that. Go
Thank you.
ahead.
No, but you just have to love yourself. The energy and love that you put into other people that's not reciprocated, you need to put the mirror back on you
Right.
and put that love and energy into you so you're a better person and then you
Hmm.
you know what you deserve. You're like, oh, you set your own standard.
Right.
You set your own tone and your own bar. You set your own scene
Absolutely.
for, you know, if they can't match your energy, they can't reciprocate what you're giving, then you need to exit stage left because they're
Absolutely.
not for you. Or you need to set your boundaries. We all set boundaries, but do we stick with them?
What
Do
Deion
do
Cole said, you here, he stopped here, and you supposed to be here.
mhm,
You stopped at that level. So
mhm,
I do agree. Because
yeah.
growing up, I had the kinkiest hair. I mean, if I turned sideways, it looked like Plinko on The Price is Right. It was just individual joints. Like I had KD before KD happened. But I mean, some of those things were said, and I was treated unkindly by, family first and then
Yeah.
friends. And I did have low self esteem growing up to the point where when somebody finally was like, "Oh, you fine," I was like, "Word? Am I? For real?"
Yeah.
And that's when it clicked for me. But I do believe at some point of your life, you have to hold yourself accountable for
Mhm,
not allowing people to have holds over you.
mhm.
So I had to do something. Well, I forgot where I heard it, but at one point I said, sometimes you just got to get over yourself to
Yes.
find out who you're really supposed to be.
Mhm,
And you can say that to some people and they'll be like, don't you ever. But in the same retrospect, I mean, I'm not saying completely forget what's been done or what has
mhm.
happened, but sometimes you have to get over yourself so you can grow.
Yeah.
Because if you continuously stay the same person, which is nothing wrong with that, if that's your desire, that is your desire. But you can't desire to want to be more and still do the same thing. And that's what
Mhm.
I'm finding through, when I lost my brother, when I turned 40, it was devastating for me because I realized that I didn't even grieve for myself. I was more worried about
Mhm,
my sisters.
mhm.
I was worried about my dad. I would just want to fix it. So I realized over the course of time, what my therapist saying, it was like, you have to live for you. And if people don't understand that and they don't understand, as long as you're not out here being malicious about things, but you have to discover you
Yeah.
and you have to find peace.
Yeah.
So I, like you, I'm finding peace in changing my diet a little bit. I still eat crafty crab, but I know when things change for me, I make a conscious decision to work out
Yeah.
because it does something for me. And you've been making this decision. Tell us about this journey. Was it because of the growth that you had in you that you decided? Because you've been killing them. I'll be seeing the pictures.
Mm. Listen, listen, thank you. But no, actually not.
Mm,
I started this journey in 2020, January 2020.
okay.
I had gotten the urgency. It was like an urgency. I don't know if it was the Holy Spirit nudging me, but it was like, you need to work on this weight loss. You need to do this now. Like now, now, now. This was right before COVID and all that, whatever is going on in the air,
Right.
that stuff started. And so I signed up for uh, this boot camp. Shout out to Houston Fitness Guru, um, Ernest Roan Jr.
All
That's the
right. All right.
boot camp owner. So strictly for ladies. I think he does train men on the side, but this is a boot camp
I don't
for
want it.
ladies.
I don't want it. I ain't that dedicated. I'm good. He gonna hurt me. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. Um, but no, I signed up, started January 2020, and it was like the first day. Now I've lost weight before. I've had lap band surgery back in 2011, lost almost 100 pounds. That came and went so quick. I'm like, yeah, it's time to get back to it. So, um, January 2020, signed up my first day of boot camp. I didn't even sign up to just go to the gym. I signed up for a 90-day boot camp challenge. Like I'd lost my mind. So,
Like at
I was
hello.
really, mhm. Yeah,
Child,
yeah.
I ain't said Indian style since the third grade. I I couldn't do that.
So I went, signed up. My first night, I'm like, what did I sign myself up for in
Mhm.
this place? Because I thought I was going to die. We were doing some exercise on the floor, and I just laid back and I was like, my face was red, I was sweaty. And my coach was like, are you all right? I said, what am I doing here? And she she was like, shout out to Cass Cooper. She was like, your goals have you have goals and your goals have goals.
Mm.
And that stuck with me throughout the whole 90 days. Now, I'm not going to lie and say it was easy because it was not. But that first 90 days, I lost 35 pounds. And then I decided to say, hey, this works because I never thought I could lose weight on my own.
How about
Right.
that?
So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to shoot for another 30. So I signed up back to back for another 90-day challenge. like a fool. But it worked. I lost another 30 pounds. So
Mm,
in the whole year of 2020, I lost 65 pounds. And I felt great. 2021 came. I was still kind of here and there. I stopped going to the boot camp, stopped going to the gym altogether, actually. But no, in the beginning of the 2021, I was still working out and whatever. Then life happened.
ain't it always life?
Listen,
It be your
life
life that's
happened.
coming for you.
I mean, both sides, front, back, front, back, and side to side. Okay.
Never let people see you ride. Okay,
Right.
South Side, go ahead.
So life happens and then I just stopped working out together. I'm just eating
Right.
whatever. I'm just laying in the bed. I suffered a nervous breakdown.
Yeah.
It was 2021 was a very hellish year. And so I look up and I'm like, I look at these old pictures and I look at me now just from 2 years ago. And it
Right.
makes me cry every time I look at those pictures. Cause I'm like, damn girl, what did you do? So here I am back to feeling self-conscious about
Mm,
myself, feeling kind of uncomfortable. I mean, I still go out, don't get me wrong.
yeah.
I'm still cute. It doesn't matter.
Hello,
But
Tom.
no. So I slowly started getting back in my routine. I
Right.
do have a fitness trainer that I work out with. Um, I know I need to up my activity because we only work out twice a week. But I just started doing extreme hip hop. Shout out to Kiva. The little step classes that
Okay.
on Monday nights. I just started doing that so I can incorporate some more activity.
Right.
And of course, I'm getting working on my diet here and there, making some changes, starting back to meal prepping and whatnot. So
Yeah.
I'm getting back on the good foot. And
And it's okay.
I beat myself up for a good while. And my friends are like, Casey, it happens. It's a journey. That's
Right.
why it's called a journey.
That part. And it's so important because when I talk to my therapist, I literally told her, I said, when change happens in my life, I will destroy myself physically, mentally, emotionally.
Mhm,
It got to the point where we're talking about 2021. I had just started working again because I had got laid off from a great job with great opportunities, but COVID
mhm,
hit.
mhm,
And I knew I had a problem and I knew things were changing and manifesting in my life because I found myself watching a different world and I
mhm,
would cry.
mhm,
And I was like, why am I crying watching this show? And it clicked to me. That was the last time in around that age gap of second and third grade that I felt safe in my house, in my family.
mhm,
And after those years, for the fourth grade on up, that's when my uncle was on drugs, like
mhm,
knowingly on drugs, and he was around. And that
mhm,
was my favorite uncle. That's when life happened. That's when my sister grew up. She
mhm.
started working, doing her own thing. So I felt, you know, a different world takes me to a great place, but it's also the time where my life changed, where, I've basically had to fend for myself,
Mm,
going
mhm.
into sports. Now I'm self conscious because I was an All American athlete. I've always had B2K abs my whole life until I moved to Texas and discovered chachos.
Ah.
So 2021, I did feel very self conscious. I felt unpretty. I felt unhandsome. I felt those urges of, you're not worthy of more.
Yeah.
And with that being said, I took a lot of people down with me
Mm,
that are praying for me and that root for you. But when you start disappearing and they can see it, they have to make a decision too. Are they going to continuously try to, lift you up, or, they got their own life to live. So
yeah.
I just want to encourage you. Like, I've seen you put in the work to the point where I've seen you put in the work so much so it made me look at myself.
Aw.
So that's why I said this, it's a thigh meat summer. Skip the hoochie daddy. I've been talking about this thigh meat summer for about 2 summers with these Magnum PI short shorts I'm gonna be wearing.
Okay.
But I just want to encourage you and let you know that I see you. And it's one thing that I know about you is that you are a very dedicated person and selfless. Because every time we talk or something going on, you always, you love your mom. You stand in the gap for things.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine what that would look like with somebody who's ready to reciprocate that same authenticity and invest that energy and water you. And I
Mm,
think it's a season of people that genuinely need to allow people to water them or find their person that
yeah.
will,
Yeah.
because time keeps on ticking. So
Mm. And it
uh,
is of the essence for sure.
it truly is. It truly is. So I ain't gonna be before you long because I know you're an artist and you're sensitive about your shh. I'm not even gonna get on the singing part. We're gonna say that I'm gonna bring you on when I have some more people that's talking about vocals and all. But more than anything, you know,
Okay, okay.
it relates to the childhood trauma and relating to going to school for as far as what you're studying, and hopefully you'll be able to replenish. What are some what is something that you would like to tell not only women but men as far as what they may not realize? What are some signs that you may not realize about yourself
Mhm.
that could correlate to breaking the cycle of, we're going to call it toxic dating?
Yeah.
We need to
Mhm.
detox this dating. Oh, that's a
Mhm.
word. I mean, detox the
Like
okay,
seriously. Like seriously.
because this social media thing is a beautiful struggle.
Yeah. Yeah. That needs to be a thing if it's not detox dating. Yes, for sure. Look, like I said before, know your worth, know
Hmm.
your value, know what you bring to the table.
Hmm.
Um, if that person is not adding value, they're subtracting from your value.
Hmm.
They're absorbing your light. They're dimming your light. Um,
That's true.
it may hurt, but you'll get over it. This too shall pass. You need to let them go. Somebody once told me years ago, they were younger than me. They said, if it's not beneficial, it's artificial.
Run that back one more again.
If it's not beneficial, it's artificial. Now, I'm not saying, do something for somebody so you can get it back.
Right.
Because that's going to happen regardless, whether it be from them or somebody else. You're going to get
Hmm.
it back. But because there's good and bad karma, right? So do something from your heart. Don't do something to hold it over that person's head when you get mad,
Come
you bring
on,
it up,
man.
you know?
Come
You
on,
have
man.
you have to study what love is. Again, that's in the word, that's in the Bible,
Yeah.
you know? And in that in that subject, love in the Bible, love is kind, love is patient, love is kind, love is long suffering. Take out love and put your name. I've
Mm.
learned that. Take out love, put your name. Is CJ kind? Is CJ patient? Is CJ long suffering? Those are all the attributes of love, right? Right, right?
Come on. Nobody want to deal with themselves.
Listen, listen. So it self-work is hard, but it's worth it.
Hmm.
Especially if you want, like I said in the beginning, if you want a happy, healthy, and loving and fulfilling relationship, not only with somebody else, but with yourself.
Right.
It starts with yourself. And if you don't have that, then you're going to allow anybody to treat you any old kind of way.
Absolutely.
Why would you want that? Why would you
Absolutely.
settle? Why would you settle? Everybody should have standards. Everybody should have boundaries and stick to them. And everybody should have
Stick through them through love,
exactly, exactly.
because you
But
need to do
you
that.
got to love yourself to stand your ground with
That's
those
what I'm
boundaries.
saying. Even when you
Yeah.
love them, you have to stick by.
Hmm.
I always tell people I never want to date somebody that loses themselves in me,
Hmm.
because it's what who you are that attracts me, that attracted me to that person.
Yeah.
That's what I've said ever since I was younger. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like when you're in these relationships or when you develop feelings, you have a tendency to change for the right reasons, and that's fine.
Hmm.
But when even as a man, I've lost myself into somebody
Mm,
before
mhm,
because I'm supposed to be a man. I'm supposed to be XYZ, and this is
mhm.
it. And years later, it's like, who am I?
Yeah.
And it got to those are the things that I experienced in younger that when I see it happening now, it's more of a like, hey, I have to take accountability for myself
Mhm.
because you have to try something different. Like I said, the last podcast, the ram is always going to be in the bush, right?
Yeah,
But if you don't do the right things, the ram can sit there forever. But until
that's
you
right.
walk on the right course, that's the only way it's going to reveal itself.
Yeah.
When you think it's about to be over, it's you're about to do the hardest thing in the world, it'll say, hey, I
Mhm,
got you. You covered.
mhm, mm.
So I can dig it. I definitely can dig it where you're coming from.
Yeah,
It's
and
like it's
just to not to cut you off, but as a woman, as women, and I'm not saying this because we don't, but it needs to happen more. We need to undergird our men more. Men have feelings, men have emotions. Unfortunately, not all men know how to communicate their feelings because of what they've gone through in childhood. Now, again, self-awareness is key. If you know that your relationships and your marriages continue to fail, it's time to do some self-evaluation.
mhm,
That's male or female, but specifically for men. And I kind of told you this offline, CJ. Broken people choose to stay broken because it's comfortable and they feel
mhm,
like it's what's been working for them all this time. They don't
mhm.
want to feel. That's what you call a runner. Avoid those kind of people until they're ready to heal.
Absolutely.
You can't love a broken person because they'll break you, right?
Cut your
Um,
fingers trying to pick them up and put them together every
that's
time.
right. That's right. And they tend to bleed all over other people who've never cut them. And
Come
it's
on now. No,
listen.
it's real. It's real because I'm not perfect. I've been, I'd be the first person to admit my flaws sometimes. I'm not
Mhm,
perfect. I've lied before, I've cheated before, and sometimes I found myself feeling inadequate. And then my
mhm.
sister had to tell me, like, every man is not necessarily trying to be a dog. Sometimes they
No.
truly root for you, and
Mhm.
we're rooting. And then instead of being strong enough as a human, because I see it two ways, just like they say, when somebody tell you, if you don't want to be here, then leave.
Mhm.
And I hold women accountable. Well, don't just check out of a relationship
Yeah.
and stick around for years, months, or whatever. You have the right to leave. You hold
Yeah.
yourself accountable to bounce.
Yeah.
So that's like I said, men might be dogs, but women have double standards. It's the
Mhm.
same thing. It balances out.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, but you're absolutely right about, broken people and until they're ready to heal, they ain't gonna.
Yeah. There's not enough love. You can't love enough cracks on somebody to seal it up. I mean, that's not your job. That's God's job to fix them. But they have to be
They
ready,
have to
willing,
take
and
it to
receptive.
him. Hmm.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's for anybody. But you know, men, y'all are loved. I mean, it may not be by everybody, but just know that you all are loved. I see y'all. Y'all work hard, and that's appreciated. I think there's more men out here today that are more protective of women, which is a great thing. Just keep doing what you're doing. Keep working hard. Express your feelings. It is okay for a man to cry. I don't know where that came from. I guess because I'm not a man, so I don't know, but it is okay to express your feelings to
Hmm.
a woman, but you have to know this is where your discernment comes in. You have to know that you have that right woman to express your feelings
Come
to,
on.
because she will use that against you.
Come
She will
on.
use your word. Hello?
Come on. Wait,
Hello.
wait. Let's go here. Let's
Look,
go
and
here.
I wasn't even part of that. And I didn't even read that book.
Come on now. Recognize. Come on now. But I went to that Just Heal Brother thing, and they said a lot of times, sometimes men, it's hard to open up because they're asking, hey, will you use this against me? Will you hold this over my head? You don't fight fair.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So I
Mm.
commend you for
Mhm.
saying that. And I also feel the same sentiments. I believe that I want Black men or men, period, but I want men to start exalting these women, like
Mhm.
lifting them up, not just because it's a trend on Facebook
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
a thread, because I believe we love it. And I know Black men love it. And we had this conversation when I had the men's talk, but you will see Black women, biracial women, whatever the case might be, exalting the hell out of us.
Mhm.
Kings, king talk everywhere.
Mhm.
But I feel that we verbally need to give them that extra
Mhm.
as much as we publicly,
Yeah.
like social media. If you want to do it,
Yeah.
lift it. So I want us to have that desire, because I truly believe in today's society over the last 20 years, we have lost the ability to be able to talk and touch.
Yes.
Family doesn't hug
Yeah.
anymore. You don't
Mm.
come together for family portraits no more. You find yourself just taking pictures and making the collages and saying, here we are.
Yeah.
You don't get that talk from Big
Mhm.
Mama. You don't get that talk from your mama, your auntie, when you have to physically show up with your head down because you done messed up. You don't get
Mhm.
that one-on-one conversation anymore. So
Mhm.
yeah, times are changing. It really
One
is.
one last thing, sorry.
Mhm.
When you are going when you are going through this phase of healing, give yourself some grace, because every day is not going to be easy. This is an everyday concerted effort type of thing. You have to make a conscious concerted effort to get up and show up for yourself during this healing process.
Mhm.
There are going to be days where you just kind of be like, I want to give up.
Yeah, it's
Like, I
been
just want
days
to
like
throw in
that.
the towel. But you have to give yourself grace. God gives us grace every day. Why won't you give yourself grace? Why won't you embrace yourself through this change? Because it is an ongoing change every day. There's going to be something that pops up when you think you've healed from something. It's going to be something else that smacks you in the face. Like, damn, I got to deal with that now. I'm telling you, but just give
That's
yourself
real.
some grace and enjoy the ride. There's beauty. There's beauty in this healing process because you get to learn yourself kind of all over again, or learn parts of yourself you didn't know.
Yeah,
Um, you get to find out what your likes and your dislikes are. They may have
and that's
changed from 10
changing.
years ago.
I mean,
Yeah.
they're very, very
Mhm,
almost night and day.
mhm, yeah,
And find. I mean, it's like Lauren Hill said on It's Just Like the Water. When you reinvent yourself and you find out who you truly are, you have to reintroduce yourself to the world, even to your mother and your father. And people
that's
may not
it. That's
understand
it.
it, but the real ones will be
Yeah,
there, and you weed them
yeah,
out. So, absolutely, I have
that's
to give
right.
myself
That's right.
grace. That's a
Mhm,
word for me. That
that's
is a
it.
word, because I'm hard
That's
on
it.
myself. And when I'm hard on
Mhm,
myself, it shows.
yeah,
It really shows.
yeah.
So I'll tell you what, Miss Casey, I would love to have you back on here with a panel of people and just discuss things, because I think you have some interesting viewpoints that I value.
Thank
And
you.
if you want to, is there anything that you want to say to anybody? Shout outs. I just want to give you the floor for whatever you may feel, or if you don't have anything to say, it's totally understandable.
Hmm. Well, I want to give you a shout out, CJ Horn, for for allowing me this opportunity to be in your space and platform to express myself. Shout out to all of my friends. Shout out to all of my family. Shout out to Mamie Johnson. Um, thank you. I love you. She knows who she is in my life. Um, Alex Moorer. Yeah, he's the homie. Um, yeah, there's so many. Look, I
I
ain't win
totally
no awards
understand it.
yet. So it's so many. It's so many.
You know,
But just thank you to the real ones. And you all know who you are. And the fake
already.
ones too. You know who you are as well. Um, yeah. So that's it. That's all,
She
folks.
giving out the pew shots. I ain't mad at it. They deserve them. But hey, again, I truly appreciate you. Just hold on for a little second. I'm gonna wrap with you after this.
Okay.
And we out.
Oh, the after
Holla.
party. All right.